Thank you for joining us this evening for the September 4th, 2024 Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission regular meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, I would like to point out a few house rules to assist the commission. Staff and members of the public who successfully participating in the meeting. For today's meeting, Zoom is being used to allow public participation with the Site and Architectural Commission regular meeting. For those using Zoom to participate, there are two icons, chat and raise hand. Please use chat only to report technical issues such as being unable to hear a commission member speaking. Please use raise hand to be recognized by the chair and enable to speak to the commission. Only attendees using Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participants calling in from a telephone will only be able to listen and cannot provide feedback or public comment. And lastly, when we're not all in the same room, all votes in the meeting must be taken by roll call.
Roll call.
Thank you. Vice Chair Connolly,
Here.
Commissioner Evans,
Here.
Commissioner Sturgis-Stava,
Hanson.
Commissioner Tam is absent tonight, and Chair Zeitler is absent tonight.
Are there any oral communications coming from the audience? That doesn't pertain to one of these applications or site architectural. Seeing none, are there any written communications? Has anyone raised a hand on TV?
No one's raised a hand, but actually,
So one written communication was just emailed in, but it does pertain to the second item under the public hearings. So I think we could wait and read it at that time. Sure.
The next agenda item is the approval of the minutes of our August 7th meeting. So I'm sure you had a chance to read them, so I reviewed them and motion to approve them.
a second, before we go ahead and make the motion, can you open that item for comment, just in case the public has any public?
Are there any public comments on last month's minutes?
No hands are raised.
Okay. And I approve the minutes, so that carries 3-0. Or do you need to do a roll call on this?
So we went ahead, we can take it as Commissioner Evans, the motion maker, and then we got it second,
Good.
so. If
Do
we,
roll call.
we can, well, at this point, since there's no resolution to it, you can all raise your hands if you are in favor of them. All in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Next item is public hearings. This is on the staff report SR 24-143 PDF that we've gotten in our agenda. Diana, turn it over to you.
Thank you. So this is an application for a site development permit for a 5-foot high fence and vehicular gate in the front yard of 17399 Zena Avenue. The proposed fence spans the width of the front yard, and it is proposed as a solid stucco wall, and the vehicular gate across the driveway is also a solid metal. As noted in the staff report, this proposal does not meet several of the design guidelines regarding front yard fencing or fencing in general, including that the use of fencing should be minimized, that solid fencing and stucco walls are discouraged, and that natural materials should be used when possible. Staff recommends approval of the front yard fence with two conditions, again, both noted in the staff report, that the fencing and the gate design be revised to provide a minimum of 75% of the area of the elevation as open on both the fence and the gate, and to revise the materials from stucco to be metal or other natural material that is a dark color that will blend in with the grading landscaping that is proposed. With these conditions, staff does recommend approval of the site development permit as noted in the draft memorandum of decision that's attached to the staff report. And this concludes the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from the commissioners.
A question. So will the applicant be required to review, revise the design and resubmit with the given recommendation? Because that's a pretty drastic thing.
So that would be up to the commission. If you want to see it again, that could be part of your decision tonight.
Do you have any questions?
No, I think I understand it.
We're going to open the public hearing now, and the speakers are allowed 3 minutes, the applicants allowed 5 minutes. So
Thank you.
proceed.
If I may. Good evening. Thank you, Diana. So my,
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I give you the right time.
yes. Good evening. My name is Sean Del Grand, and I'm the owner of the property at 1395 Zena. 17395. Got to know your address. Anyway, first of all, I just want to thank the group here for being here tonight to hear us and to hear me and really listening to the concerns and us trying to provide a solution for some privacy and some security issues that I believe we are facing. And by the way, the process with the city has been fantastic in the entire development. And this is my second house that I have now done with the city of Monte Sereno, and feel very fortunate to be working with a great town that's been very helpful and productive. And so anyway, I think maybe best is if I have a chance to just start with a little background about the project. First of all, I'm a single dad with 3 children, 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an 11-year-old, Bryce, Tucker, and Pia. And I've been co-parenting with their mom for the past 7 years. She happens to live 300 yards down the street on Eaton, so another Monte Sereno property. So the kids get to walk back and forth quite a bit, and it's quite easy for all of us. Anyway, prior to the 7 years, Penny and I purchased that home as a guest home for us, for friends, for our parents, prior to the divorce. It's an amazing property. It's the backyard of it faces La Rinconada and the golf course. It looks out over the golf course. And it really was, it's just an amazing piece of property, and it had an older house. And I think the decision it was just time to do something special with this house. And I just had a dream of building this amazing guest house for our friends and our family. Ironically, it's so beautiful that the kids and I decided we're going to move into it as our primary residence. So it's a very important part for me and these children as they continue to grow up over the next coming years. At the La Rinconada house that we have today where we live, so it's adjacent to this other property, we do actually have a gate. And it's down an easement that comes alongside the golf course. The gate is open throughout the day. We're not a family that hides behind gates or have little kids and people coming in and out all the time. But unfortunately, back in March, the house was ransacked by 5 thieves in hoods that smashed through the bedroom window, came in, ravaged the house, ravaged the kids' rooms. And it was clearly a traumatic incident for our family and especially for the little kids and for me personally. Since then, we've spent obviously a lot more money on alarming the house, on putting up more camera systems. And today I actually have the house under surveillance 24 hours a day, just because what I saw on the cameras blew my mind. Los Gatos police were wonderful and came out, and there were a number of the houses along the golf course that have very easy access and in and out of those streets around La Rinconada. So, but we're not a paranoid family at all. The kids have all done well. And as I said, we love to have people in and out of the house, kids, friends, and family on a daily basis. We just want to make sure that there is sufficient privacy and security for myself and the 3 little kids. And really that security is at night and when we're out of town. And I really think that in this whole process over the last couple of years of building and designing this house, with the help of our architect, Gary Colsat, and our landscape architect, Pete Murray, we've really been thoughtful about the design, the neighbors, the neighborhood, the code, and have really put forth our best effort to make sure that we have an amazing relationship with all of the neighbors And everybody's so excited, obviously, about the project. But I think we've put a lot of thought in really trying to respect the city guidelines, the wishes of our neighbors, while again, trying to make sure that we have a safe environment and plenty of privacy. It's a modern home. The front door is glass, so you can see right in through the middle of the house. And that was all part of the design. And so the concept is when we believe where the fence was built, that technically it could be a 6-foot fence. And I think we only applied for a 5-foot fence, which I still not sure why we did that, because the house actually sits down 2.5 feet. And so from the street, you're actually, and hopefully Gary or Pete can show some pictures, you can actually just see, it's not like a gate like this, it's a gate like this, because when you're standing, you still can see the entire house. I think it's with taste. It's gonna be landscape. The stucco is not like an obtrusive stucco feature. It's just meant to be a wall that provides some security and privacy. The 3-foot wall, clearly just does not, people can walk over that. So, it's set back. It's only 6, I believe it's 6 feet from the garage, which, and I think Gary and Pete should be able to show that. So, I think that as you see these elevations, you will see that it does not feel like a giant wall. It's not meant to be a giant wall. It's still meant to be a very inviting feature of the house that actually really ties in with the modern style of this home that is a little different for this neighborhood. And I think everybody's excited to bring a lot of glass, and that's also part of the design, so you can really have fantastic views out through the golf course. So I think that sums up sort of the scenario of how we've thought about it and trying to be respectful to the city or neighbors while providing privacy and security for myself and the children. So, thank you.
Good. Hang on. Do you have any questions?
I have a couple questions. I'm a little confused, and so I don't, I walked by the is there today, in fact, and looked at it again and tried to understand it. So the house that is next door to it, I guess that would be is that the east, maybe, to the east of it?
Yes, correct.
The fence is the back of that home.
That is the back of the Laricanata property, the other home, correct? That's right.
And is that your home?
And that is my home, correct?
And so, then the house next to it then is then the.
Adjacent. It's the adjacent house that will be our new primary residence, and that will become the guest house, correct?
Okay, I got you.
Correct.
I understand.
Thank you. And as you noted, I'm sure that there is a 6-foot fence with large hedges there, because that was also a concern in that primary house when the kids were playing and young in the backyard, that we didn't want the kids in the backyard and people being able to walk in from. Now that fence has been there forever, but just the niceness of having that fence, meaning the back of that house, providing that insulation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
You have a question? Did you look through the staff report?
We did.
Do you have any direct comments on, or understand the situation that the stucco versus the iron
Yes.
and landscape? And does the iron and landscape combination not provide what?
Well, ironically, I would say that an iron fence still provides it certainly provides that. And there will be landscape in front of it. And so I think in this case, I think that the city was recommending that it be an iron fence. It's not really the ideal look, in our opinion, that matches a stucco that is all of the same fabric, all of the same materials that are used on the wall and the gate are all the exact same fabrics and textures that are used on the house. So that is where this house is stucco, wood, and porcelain. And this is meant to be, and metal, and black metal. And this is meant to be stucco and black metal or wood, and wood.
When you put if nothing else, I think we would require landscaping across the stucco wall.
Correct.
And substantial landscaping if we were to go in that direction.
Makes sense.
Gallonage wise.
Yeah.
Or the iron fence in with the landscaping behind it and or in front of it if you wanted. That's the direction that we might need. Could you live with that?
I think we saw that, and I think that at this point, our preference still would be to have a stucco wall with a proper foundation that created just a little more of a barrier. And there will be landscape, and I think that between Pete and Gary, we've discussed making sure that you're virtually not seeing much of that wall, but what you would still be able to see, because you can't have these trees, they're not solid, so they're solid-ish. That there's gonna be visibility through, and that having a typical iron fence along there would not really provide the same sort of privacy necessary or
But it
security.
would be equivalent security.
I would say that from a security standpoint, it would be the same, correct?
With regard to the gate, that's a solid metal gate there.
Correct.
We've been going through gates lately. A lot of people have been doing it. We've really been pretty solid on wanting those to have airspace in them, mostly open. Knowing that, why did you design this?
A great question. So number one is as you stand in front of the gate, which you'll see from these pictures, you can look directly in to the front door, which looks directly into the family room where we reside, right into the dining room and in the living room. So I think that the concept is that while that gate is going to be open throughout the day, you will be able to do that. But at night, when our lights are on in the house and having a gate that's open and you're looking directly into the house does not feel like what we want. And we've tried to, and this has been set far back. It's inside the building envelope, is that correct?
Yes.
And it's all been thought through, which is why I believe that we were a little surprised that this was gonna be an issue.
Well, it's an issue because of the mass of it. And we can really, I think we had two last week, but our last month that had to do with open space in the gate, so we're gonna have to handle that, in the discussion.
And for instance, the gate at the other house is a completely open gate with metal,
Right.
and then you're able to use that, but that's not seen, that's just looking up the driveway. And I think this is really from a privacy and security standpoint, being able to see if there's people home or not home. You're just not staring directly into the house, which is the style. And I think Gary and Pete could also add some comments to that to maybe help you.
And the style, is that a glass front door you've got?
It is,
Could you change that style?
that door is installed.
Another place you could put it?
The custom,
I think you have some visuals that we could.
we do, I think that'd be great.
I think that we have.
Okay,
Can I invite either Gary or Pete to?
either one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're on the clock for 3 minutes.
Great. My name is Pete Murray. I'm the landscape architect. And I just have a few items for your consideration. And there's some of the things,
Is this the one?
yeah, this is great. And this is one of the items that Sean talked about. Most of the fences in the town that are in the front yards are on the property line. They're low, they're opaque, 75% see-through, but they're 3-foot high fences. One thing Sean didn't mention, but I just want to mention is his desire for the neighborhood to not feel like he's walled off. So he mandated to us early on that he did not want to put any kind of fencing at the property line. And he wanted us to push it back as far as we could. So we pushed it back more than we wanted to, but Sean kept saying, push it back. So as you can see in this image, the auto entry wall is on the right. We pushed it back all the way into the building envelope. And the idea was to create a landscape in the front that was beautiful, open, and would blend with the neighborhood. So he basically just kind of offered that land to the neighborhood instead of just putting a little fence and separating. So I just want to say that because I think that's important and it shows his character. The couple of the issues as far as a wall, we propose a fence and gate to be located outside of the 30-foot front setback and in the building envelope or footprint. As you can see here, it is 6 feet, or I didn't put the dimension on, it's 6 feet off of the garage. So we pushed it back in there, and it's actually an extension that Gary and I originally in our design, it was an extension of the house. We place a little bit of the architecture in the landscape, and so we feel design-wise is an important element because that stucco matches the wall 6 feet away, into the garage, which you can see the corner, and it softens the house. But it is an architectural element that has the same vernacular as the house. And in addition, you can see the little character of the street. The street is 2.5 feet, as Sean said, above the proposed fence and gate. And the perception from the street is that the 5-foot-high fence is actually 3 feet roughly, because you're looking down on it. And in addition, the distance from the street to that fence is approximately 40 feet. So there's a long distance because we pushed it back, and it's sitting in the building envelope. So it's part of the house in our opinion. There a couple other things, the stucco fences reflectivity was mentioned, and we appreciate that. We feel strong about the stucco just because of the strong character and element of the house. And that stucco, that reflectivity will be mitigated and completely screened by the plant material. So the material we have would be layered. It wouldn't just be a wall of plant material. There'd be a hedge along the wall, and then we'd layer it towards the street. But that stucco wall is going to be, will not be viewed from the street. It will be viewed from inside the property, but that's part of the architecture, and the client has requested that. And the last thing with the gate, we think the gate definitely reflects the character and the vernacular of the house. And so it being a dark steel color, we could talk about different options. We haven't really talked about what else that could be, but that's a few of the items that we wanted to talk about. Mainly, we put it into the building envelope, almost attaching it to the house, so it's a part of the structure. And that we feel the 2.5 feet difference in elevation and the 40 feet distance validates our request for this wall.
Thank you. Gary?
Would you like the picture still out here?
I think you might want to cycle through some of the other slides.
This is.
Do you have any
There
more?
was one other.
Oh, there's only one.
Give
other.
me 1 second.
We have the front elevation.
Sorry.
Shows that.
While he's pulling that up, maybe I can just give a couple thoughts here. We've done 5-foot fences before on the property line. We've got approval from this committee to do that. And as Pete had pointed out, this definitely was not the idea at all. We really wanted to push it back quite a bit. And it is truly an extension of the architecture. It's almost in this modern house build, you could think of it as an Eichler house, which has courtyards and atriums. So that was the idea that we wanted to do. And the stucco is a very simple, plain material that is not adorned at all. And because the house has a lot of wood on it and a lot of dark material, and we wanted something to layer and pop. If we did the same exact material, it would just blend in. And so we realized that part of the guidelines are want these fences to blend in, but we wanted a little bit of contrast on the house itself. There's contrast, and so we wanted that fence to reflect that. We could, you're going to not see much of the stucco. It truly is from the inside out. It's not very practical to change materials on a wall necessarily. And what these pictures show are the 3-foot high fence that was on the plan and approved. And then we changed it to the 5-foot tall fence. You still see the majority of the home, pardon me, that because of the elevation difference and the perspective that you have from 40 feet away or 60 feet from the middle of the street, you're gonna see it like a 3-foot wall. The primary thing that part of the conditions are make sure that this fence and gate are 75% open, quote open. I asked Diana what that meant, and she preferred it to be spread out openness over the entire length. And I was wondering if it's 75% of the wall needs to be open and 25% of it could be solid. Because we really want the entry gate, the vehicular gate, to be solid because it's in the front and you have this large glass door into the front of the house. So we have no options to screen it with landscaping. We can't put bushes and hedges in front of the front door, nor would we want to. You want that front door to be visible from the street, but we don't necessarily want to have the privacy issue. So that's why we are really pushing hard on a more solid, or if total solid, front auto gate there. Now, the other walls, we could concede and maybe make them open. I know that that's not where we want to go, and it's up to you guys, but that's the thing that we're arguing about is the 75% open condition that was placed on this. So does that kind of clarify our position and our goal? And is there something that we can work together on, or?
Do you have any questions?
No, I think I understand what your thoughts are. I mean, I don't have an issue with the height of the fence at 5 feet. I think the challenge, as I, kind of see it, is as we tried to. It's a unique situation because frankly, the house next door is kind of the other way around, right? It's a whole different, and that to me was like, what the heck is going on there? But then I figured out it was the house was turned around the other way, so you could enjoy the golf course and what have you, and that's fine. So based on our, I guess our setup, it's a back fence instead of a front fence. So you got a back fence on a neighbor, if you will, and now you got a front fence on this project. But I think the thing that we're trying to avoid in some of our decision making is to try and not make it look like it's impermeable. So that idea that, whether people could hide behind the gate, or that idea that the police couldn't see through the gate, is an area of safety and security that one of these we've tried to think about as well. And so that's kind of where that's where my view has been, and as we've seen some of these properties, and some of the gates that have gone in the last, since I've started doing this over the last year, that's kind of the thinking behind why we want to have some openness there. And not have it look like it's blocked off. You can't look in here, so to speak. Whether it be neighbors that are walking by, or whether it be your cross the street neighbors. We don't have any comments that I'm aware of from any of the neighbors on any of this, do we?
We haven't received any in advance of this.
So you're actually okay with the walls and the fence at 5 feet, you prefer to have the gate open?
I prefer to have
I don't want to put words in your mouth, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, so my view is that 75% openness is what we want uniformly across the gate, across the entire project.
Did you have any questions? Okay.
I mean, I have the same question as you, because if they are saying that, there's going to be full on like screening plant material, how is that not, providing the privacy that they're looking for, whether it's stucco behind or it has, more openness. It looks like there's a lot of plant material that's planned.
Your time's up.
Just one more, but the solid gate, like I understand that part. Because if there is transparency there, you can't put plant materials there, right? So somebody can literally look through your glass house, so. I'm kind of on the fence on that one, but the rest of the wall, if you have enough plant materials, I think you could add transparency instead of stuff. And it's also setting a precedence, right? Like. It's not something that we encourage, so it's.
I'm gonna open a public hearing. Anyone that wants to speak on this? to come up, speak, you got 3 minutes. Is anyone interested in speaking on this? Seeing none, we're gonna close the public hearing. And, do you have anybody on
Your
the,
hands are raised.
and now we'll open it to the commission. You got the good information. Do you have any,
Yeah, I mean, I think I expressed my thought is that in a neighborhood like that, where it's a fairly quiet street, it's a, you know,
Sorry to interrupt you guys. Can we make sure your guys' microphones are turned on? Because the further you step away, when we
Yeah.
go back to the recording, it just sounds very low.
Yeah, okay, sorry. No problem. So I think the setting in the neighborhood, and the other fences in the neighborhood, support this transparency. And I think the solid gate, is an issue for me. I think we just need to try and keep things looking as if it's open and inviting. But then also providing a level of security that I think that the applicant needs.
I have expressed my thought. I am supportive of 75% transparency for the wall, for the gate.
Sorry, you speaking super.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I hear you.
I'm kind of aligned with the city recommendation around having 75% transparency for all of the wall. For the gate, if you could like make the little, like, I understand the privacy concern and the glass house, etc. So if there is any leeway there, if it's even 50% or that will, if that will be acceptable, just my 2 cents.
would you feel the same way if the open space on the fence were some number other than 75%?
I think, from my perspective, that's kind of been the precedent that we've been applying, but, I don't think that's a hard and fast rule at the same time.
Like that.
Well, I can understand the presentation that Mr. Grant made. After, what happened up there, but that's probably rarer than frequent. And I don't know that gates and fences would have solved the problem anyhow. And they want to get in, they can get in. I would be willing to vote and approve a less transparent gate than 75%. Maybe half. But to that end, we'll look for a motion to approve. To approve this staff report and if you've read it, would anyone, I would vote to put amend this staff report to put a 50% transparency on the gate. But I'm staying with the fact that I vote the fence as described in the staff report.
So that I understand if we were to go down the road and let's say that we approve that, put a motion in place to approve that. The applicant isn't happy with that, what does the applicant do?
I think you can go to the city council.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Correct, they would have 10 days from your decision to appeal it to the city council.
Okay.
So the chair would entertain a motion on the staff report to approve it, and I'm gonna ask for an amendment to the staff report, which we can vote on, before we vote on the,
For the gate to,
yeah, I would like to try and amend the staff report to reflect a 50% open rather than solid.
yeah,
Um,
so moved.
So you will be making a motion then, right?
I don't think I can make a motion.
I'm happy.
Because you're saying you want to amend.
I want to, once the motion's made, I'm
So-
gonna ask him if I can amend the
Okay,
motion.
okay, okay.
So I have a comment. So, I get the privacy part and, the fact that somebody could see through with what Mr. Conley is suggesting. Like, you could have that solid part at that high level, so that, I mean, nobody's gonna, really, if they really wanna do that, they can figure out ways to look into your house, right? So have that on the upper level so that it common passerby, is blocked from directly looking into your house and have some kind of more open space bars. If you could think of that design.
That makes sense. So. I think I understand that.
Yeah,
So, I'll move to, approve the staff report with the amendment to the 50% on the gate.
Yeah.
And
you
I second.
second it, okay. Roll call,
Vice Chair Connolly,
yes.
Commissioner Evans,
yes,
Commissioner Servistava.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for coming, all three,
Thank you.
appreciate it. The second item on the agenda tonight is an application for vehicular gate in the front yard of the house on Saratoga Los Gatos Road. The staff has recommended that we approve the site development permit as presented. Diana, could you elaborate for us?
Yes, thank you. This is another application for a site development permit for a front yard fence. This proposed fence is 6 feet high, but is, actually I should say vehicular gate. It is, only 12 feet in width and across the driveway. So it's not across the entire, width of the property. The gate is proposed to be metal, but a design that will look like wood. And the color, of the gate is proposed to match that of the house. Staff recommends approval of the front yard gate as designed and in accordance with the findings in the draft memorandum of decision that is attached to the staff report. And that concludes the report tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
so is the gate, as I see it on the gate detail here, it looks as though it has an open portion at the top, or is that just,
That is correct.
okay, so it's.
And it's 5 feet to kind of those top rails,
Mhm.
but 6 feet would be the maximum to the top of the highest portion of the posts.
I didn't think I understand that, okay.
Do you have any questions of them? Is there anyone in the audience that would, well, we want to open a public hearing. And if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this, please come up, say your name.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Allison Wright. This is my husband, Tim Wright. We're the owners of 17981 Saratoga Los Gatos Road. So that is what I would call very lovely Victorian home that's a few doors down from this office. And we are looking to add this gate because we really feel we need the additional security of the property. Protecting the driveway area. We do have a young family member who stays with us often. I also have a therapy dog in training right now who I'd like to keep contained and is very important to us as a family member. And having the open driveway exposes the entire property. The home, we, as you probably have seen, we are investing a lot in the home to preserve the historic qualities of this home. And it was committed to, some of you may know or not, Lana Malloy, who was a previous council member and sold the house to us with the commitment that we would not do anything to the home without continuing to make it something that was available for a family and cherished and loved. And that's what we're trying to do by adding this additional gate to the property. Of course, that doesn't touch the picket fence that sits in the front. It's just on the long driveway entering into the property, which is completely open and exposed at this time. So if you're in the side yard or backyard, that would be immediate access out to a very busy street. When we purchased the home almost 10 years ago, traffic was much lighter than it is today. And as you all know, it gets quite busy, and to have a young child or even a dear pet get out onto that road, it would be very difficult for anything to survive if it made it out onto the street. So it's important to us that we have that gate.
If I could just toss in my perspective, and I learned a lot from your last item,
Your name?
Tim Wright, Allison's husband. I learned a lot about gates and fences just from that last item that you had. And something resonated with me, Mr. Chairperson. I'm a retired police officer, used to work in San Jose, and what you said, really, if they want to get in, they're gonna get in. This is not a high security house, that people will get in if they want to get in. I'd like to prevent people though from driving into our driveway, parking in the back and loading up a truck or something like that. So, and also keep the dogs and little kids in too, but, I'm also like the last homeowner. I don't think I'm overly paranoid, but the gate to me represents a little bit of security that for us, but we're still going to preserve the picket fence, and we like the look. It's the kind of house you don't really buy unless you kind of like what you're buying. So I think that we don't have any other remarks. If you have questions about the project.
Yeah.
This is our architect.
Hi, Beth Horsemus, EDO3. Just have those for everyone, if you can pass them around. I just wanted to rip off of Allison and Tim's comment that I think this particular gate in this particular location represents something maybe outside of the norm of what a typical design guideline is maybe trying to collect in a gate. The location of the property on a very busy street, especially on weekends with beach traffic and people kind of constantly dipping around or turning around or making it an almost 4-lane road, presents a unique security concern. I've also just added for you just literally a minute and a half walk around this house. These are the gates and the addresses of what exists immediately in the neighborhood. Some of these are transparent, some of these are solid. They have an average of about 5.5 feet in height. And I just wanted to point out on our gate detail, the primary portion of the gate is at 5 feet. It is the decorative ornamental posts that are designed to match some of the historic homes railing details that run around the front porch. Those are what sit at a 6-foot marker at the tippy top of the finial. Unlike the last house, our house actually sits up significantly off the road. And so this gate, even though it is perhaps a tall gate at the driveway, is actually very low proportionally to the overall visibility of the property. It actually sits at its 6-foot height, about 7 feet below the finished floor height of where you enter the house after you go up a series of steps and in the landscape, and then up another set of steps onto the layered front porch. We have taken care, even though it is in the front setback, to set it back 20 feet, 6 inches from the property line. And then there's an additional 9 feet in front of that to the edge of the curb. So if anyone did need to turn around, or if the owner needed to get onto their driveway themselves, or an Amazon delivery or anything of the like, there's plenty of room for them to clear the walking passageway along the street and be off street traffic before the gate, before they hit the gate. So while it is in the front and not aligned with the body of the house, we have taken care from a public works perspective to be sure that we can fit a car or delivery truck in front of the gate as it's pausing to have access. The gate's metal, but designed to look like wood. Most gates today that look like wood are made out of metal so that they have longevity and don't fail over time, especially at their size. I think I'm out of time, so I'm trying to talk really fast. Did you have any questions?
No,
So I do have a question, I'm trying to understand, so the thinking behind the setback that you have is enough for the car to pull in, if you will, as the gate would open or close or what have you, so that they're clearing but like a UPS truck doesn't have that kind of space, right? I mean, they're gonna still, I don't know if they pull into the driveway when they make deliveries today, but it's a crazy busy street, I get, so I'm just trying to understand.
So like a parking space at Safeway, for instance, or one of these out here is roughly 9 feet by 18 feet long. At 20 feet 6, we've given you an additional 30 inches, and that's just from the property line, which doesn't count that additional, let me see, 9'6" that goes to what you perceive as the edge of the road. So overall, at 30 feet in total, then I do think even a box truck, a small one, like a delivery truck, would be able to turn fully into that. And while it might block the sidewalk walking area weirdness that's there, it would be able to clear the road.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I just don't know how they back out without, I mean, it's.
Me neither.
it's-
When we park there for job site meetings, it's hard.
Yeah,
That's why
okay, I get that.
I have a quick question. What is the height of the picket fence? Just I'm trying to visualize.
The picket fence is only 3 foot high. It stacks on top of a retaining wall. And this doesn't meet it. It's set back, and then the fence kind of comes or laps around the curve of the driveway and the front line.
Right, because the current, I mean, the fence was, I guess you guys are now pouring the cement or the retaining or the wall there. And so the fence is the white picket fence of 3 feet away, is gonna sit on top of that.
It sits right behind it.
Right behind
Right,
it.
right. It just sits right behind, which was an existing condition, and we're just matching as we repair. The current driveway access, well, before we've done our little bit of retaining walls, was substandard, and it was like bumper cars getting in and out of there,
Gotcha.
so.
I haven't changed my mind. Is it electric
Yes,
in and out?
in and out, and it will have a Knox box key for fire and security access, as required by code.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other comments from the public with regard to this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee for discussion.
So I guess my thinking is that in looking at the other gates, as I've walked that area as well and looked at it, the fully like solid gate, as I see it, as I think I understand it here, it's fully solid all the way to the top. Unlike, I think 17,951, where you have like a lattice on top of it. Is that fair?
I need to grab a copy of it.
Sure.
Sorry, I handed them all out.
There you
Thank you.
So the top right example that you showed there.
Yeah, on the top right, or in the top right example, it was a solid wood with that metal lattice at the top.
Yeah. So,
And then I think the gate below that, you can also see that one actually reads more solid because it's full wood with wood lattice at the top that's doubled.
is that the 17,995?
Correct, that's
Yeah, I
the
can't really
immediate
tell.
adjacent neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. Makes, because it's open, I'm not sure what that is like. Gotcha. So I guess my general thinking is that having a completely solid gate seems a bit much. And then having the top section of this gate such that it would be open, something like the 17,951 example. That would be my preference.
If I can confirm, the top approximately 2 feet, and that would be measured from the highest point of the post, the top of the finial, is mostly open. So there is an open rail across the top of the fence. Correct.
Is that
I
right?
think that'd be open, thank you. Yeah. Yes, that's transparent.
Perfect.
That in the top row.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I would just like to say, as an architect though, I understand the fear factor around a solid gate feels maybe ominous and not neighborly.
Mhm.
But I do believe that if a gate is articulated, as we have done on this one, that the play of dimension on, straps and crosses and wood detailing, whether it's speed groove or otherwise, actually probably in a lot of ways provides a more custom looking gate that's actually reminiscent of older homes and classical architecture. So I would encourage you, when you do look at gates for this house and others, to not be afraid of a solid gate if the articulation is there architecturally. Because I actually think that stands for quality and not, just kind of suburban spec open Home Depot gate,
Gotcha.
just my two cents.
Yeah, well, I think certainly, the homes that are, across the street on 18020 is nothing close to a Home Depot design.
Correct.
It's a pretty beautiful home and a nice gate as well, so, I think that, I just encourage the, a little bit of openness as well. I think it makes it feel a little inviting, but it provides you guys with the security you need, so that no pet gets exposed or a child or what have you. Which I totally get, taking on that street. But if that's the intent, was to have that open section, that top, kind of see-through, if you will.
Yeah, those three boxes
Yeah.
above the wood plank.
Yeah, perfect. In my view.
Did you
No, I don't have any questions.
everybody on TV?
Online. No hands are raised for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the staff report SR 44-144.
145. 145.
Yeah, 45.
Yeah. 145 is the one below it.
That's the one we are talking about.
Oh,
Yeah, we're only 45.
145.
Yeah.
Is there someone willing to make a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion and stipulate that top section is open, and
Yeah.
I'm good.
Do you second
Yes, I second.
it? All those in favor? You want to take a roll call?
Or you can do all those in favor.
Okay, you can raise your hands.
You can raise your hand.
All in favor.
Thank you.
That's approved.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Good luck with it. The next item, is, a site development permit for a new home on Dave's Avenue. Diana will read the staff report. For quorum purposes, I need to stay here. But because I live close to this, I'm recusing myself from comment. I turn the magnificent leadership over to Kelly.
All right, thanks.
If I may really quick, the city attorney did ask me to read this into the record.
Sure.
That although Vice Chair Connolly does need to not vote or comment on this project, pursuant to Government Code Section 87101 and the rule of necessity, Commissioner Connolly will participate for purposes of establishing a quorum only. And again, he will not vote or comment on the project.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, staff report, SR 24-146. Diana, if you could help us with that.
Thank you. This is an application for a site development permit for a new two-story house at 18310 Dave's Avenue. The proposed house is approximately 5,462 square feet with an approximately 2,604 square foot basement. The proposed house is located in the same area of the lot as the existing house, which does have a considerable front yard setback. The proposed house would have an exterior walls that are of a stucco finish with stone veneer, and the roof would be a Spanish tile. The project also includes the conversion of an existing detached accessory structure to an ADU. This does not require approval from the Site and Architectural Commission, but is shown on the plans just for reference. Staff recommends approval of the site development permit in accordance with the findings in the draft memorandum of decision that is attached to the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the commissioners might have.
Do we have, any sort of guidance that the city, has developed for, the recycling of materials when you're demolition, when you're demoing a house? I know some of the cities along the peninsula have done that.
Yes, there is a requirement in the California Green Building Code, which is part of the building codes that are adopted throughout the state. And it does require recycling of materials. Don't quote me, but I believe the current requirement is about 65%
Gotcha.
to be recycled.
Okay.
I believe it's the 65% threshold.
Okay. Gotcha. And then in terms of the plans that have been developed and submitted, the earth removal is, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a big lot, lots going on. Is there a lot of hauling in or hauling out of materials and the like? Of earth, or is it, and I assume that's all within our planned guidelines.
Correct.
Okay.
There is a significant amount of export because of the basement,
Mhm.
but not a lot of other site rated work than the export from the basement.
Gotcha, and that's, that complies with our requirements for that, and it's not a requirement to redistribute that earth on the site.
Correct, we do not have that preference.
Okay. With that, are there any written communications?
Staff has not received any,
The last.
the last item.
Oh, no.
That was
Did we have any written communication from the other one? Or?
in support of the fence.
Oh,
The
okay.
last item, I forgot to read it.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope
Apologies.
For this last one, I'm kind of.
they helped us. Okay, so no written communications. So at this stage, then we look to have the applicant, is that right? Discuss it with us.
Mr. Butler?
Hello.
Hi, we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I bought this house, this lot, about 10 years ago with the expectations of developing it, and I've been doing all kinds of different other projects, and now I finally, thanks to the help of Diana, have a plan ready to go. I think it takes into consideration the neighborhood conformity issues, and we should be, I think we should be ready to go on this.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay, I think that means we're done with the applicant's comments. And do we have any do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I think it's a beautiful addition to the neighborhood, like it meets the guidelines. I don't have any questions.
Gotcha. I've got a couple of questions. One, in terms of, it looks as though you're kind of moving the driveway a bit from where it currently is, if that's, I guess, what you would characterize it as. And the thing that's interesting for me is it's an area that I tend to walk as well. And the sidewalk kind of continues down the hill up into about this property, and then it stops, and then there's the oleanders that are all there. Is it our thinking that we'd like to have sidewalks to continue to provide access for people? And is that something that we should stipulate as a part of our recommendation to the city engineer, or how do we go about that?
So we do have a standard condition of approval that's included, condition number 14, which does require an encroachment permit and public improvements as required by the city engineer.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if an actual sidewalk would be required as part of, or in this part of Dave's Avenue,
Mhm.
like if the commission would prefer one, you could certainly include that in your motion.
Gotcha, so we'll just ask them to take a look at that. Okay, and then in terms of this proposal does not have a front gate and front fence or gate as a part of the proposal, is that right?
Correct, on the plans, that are before you tonight, the proposed plans do not include a front gate over. A gate in the front yard, which is from the property line to the base of the building.
Mhm.
If it's, a gate is, or a fence is proposed over 3 feet in height, it would need to come back to the commission as a
Okay.
separate application for.
Okay. Okay, good. So I don't think I have any questions for the applicant then. Are there any public comments for the project?
Yeah.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, please.
Okay, I'm Lang Law. My house is 18320, right next to okay. And I know Jim's building a gigantic house, okay? And I'm looking into the landscape, for mutual privacy. I wish he can plant 2 big trees in between. I have quite a few redwood tree already in place, but there's a big hole in between. So since building a 2-story, house, I would like to, in that hole, maybe he can plant 2 big trees, preferable redwood, but whatever that can be, sustain or he can plant in.
And you're thinking, so that I understand, as you look at the property from standing on the street, your house.
From my house, yeah.
Yeah, looking to the right of that, okay.
Right,
I understand.
right. I have some picture too, I can look right into, well, we can't see each other,
Gotcha, okay.
So that's the request. Also for probably, water retention, more trees in the property.
Okay,
That's common.
thank you for your comment.
Okay.
Okay, are there other comments? Please introduce yourself and enjoy your 3 minutes.
Sure. I'm Jack and this is Serena. We're the Ewens and we live across the street from the property.
We're at 18301.
Right.
Dave's Avenue.
And our request is that our street, well, let me present these to you guys. These are Google Earth pictures from the property. And the dates I took are there. And what we've seen over the last decade is a ton more water coming off the hillside. And it floods right on Dave's Avenue, right in front of our house. It's an issue that's clearly associated in part with Dave's Avenue because it is a creek after all. But also because of the change over time and removal of trees. We're requesting as part of this, as part of the landscape plan that is developed. If you would look at putting back some of the trees that have disappeared over the last decade to help mitigate the flow of water as it comes off the hillside into Dave's. We already have the issue with another home next to us, washing out our next door neighbor's driveway. And I would request that an evaluation be made as to whether or not we can do something for the soil to at least have some absorption as it goes down towards the street.
If you've driven on Dave's anytime during the winter for a period of 5 months during the winter, you will always run into huge puddles in front, kind of in front of the applicant's property and just to the left, if you're facing, just to the left, there's always a big puddle there. And part of it is because a lot of the landscape has disappeared.
Right.
It's been taken out.
And there's
So-
silt and dirt and everything clogging the system. But to the degree there's landscaping approaches to mitigate that, it would be greatly appreciated if the commission could investigate and think through how to deal with that.
Okay. You have any questions or comments? No? Okay, I appreciate the Google Earth stuff. It's fascinating to see the change over that period of time.
Thank you.
Quite a bit of, it's been Was it, I assume all those trees were removed with permits and the like along the way, or?
We don't know.
I don't know, I think you'll have to ask the applicant.
That's it. Do we have any record of tree removal, permits and what have you, because it's obviously been.
So our records over, for permits over about 2 years old now are a little time consuming to research, so I can certainly do that and get back to you, but I don't have that information.
Gotcha. Okay, no problem.
I am Ted Lascola. I'm a neighbor on Constitution Avenue, 18245. I'm familiar with the property. I was involved in the real estate matter about 12 years ago. So I'm kind of familiar with it. And I think my question is, there's 2 improvements on that property. I think there's the main house, which is quite a very old house, which is probably going to be removed. And behind it, there's an ADU, which is in pretty nice condition. Is the actual improvement, new improvement, going to be where the ADU is, or where the existing old house is? I haven't seen a rendering. I don't understand what the style is going to be. If there's a photograph of it, love to see it, see what's going to be built there. I'm familiar with the property. I agree with some of the comments I've heard from the neighbors across the street next door. I'm familiar with them. And I also agree, a lot of water comes off that hill. There's been changes that have been made over the last decade, as far as landscape changes. So there's probably a lot of dirt that is going to be removed, and I'm sure there's going to be some nice landscaping planted there, because it does get muddy. And a lot of water coming off that area because of the slopage of that hill.
Right.
But what kind of style is going to be built there? So
I think we have that,
Yeah, so we do have the staff report online, that has all of the plans, but here's a hard copy if you'd like to.
So this
Look
gives
at
you.
it.
I just wanted to see what the house is gonna be.
Right.
The kind of house is gonna be, like
Right.
they mentioned in Eichler earlier for Del Grande. I just wondering, this is gonna be kind of the rendering of what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking house, of course. I didn't bring my glasses. It's a very nice looking home.
yeah,
And I understand it's gonna have a basement, which is gonna be a third of the house's size. So as far as the height restrictions, I can kind of see it from the corner of my backyard, because I've seen the sorry poles up. I just wanted to make sure that he doesn't cut into some of the property that I currently own as far as any water issues. Because we do get a lot of water coming off that hill at certain times when there's, gushing rain. But looks like a pretty good project other than some of those comments. I think it might be a good idea to maybe recommend some asphalt sidewalk that's maybe 6 feet wide so you can pass each other. Because there's quite a bit of asphalt just past this property, including where that creek comes down from the upper hill. Might be a thought to recommend that. Other than that, I think it's a good thing.
good. Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none, any online? Okay, so I think it's up to you and I to discuss it. Do you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to
It's a
share?
beautiful addition and it complies with all the codes that I have reviewed it. I like your suggestion to ensure that there's some sidewalk here. I'd also like to ensure that there's enough number of trees getting planted, because now looking at the Google Maps, I can see that it's pretty barren and dry, the water would kind of, come down and get accumulated. So definitely, then with respect to the trees being planted, summary on that.
So
Can you pull the landscape
it's,
design?
of just this item, Boise, it's page 36.
Page 36.
Is the landscape plan.
36. Oops, crashed. Trying to look.
Let me just share my screen.
Yeah, that might be the best way to go. So not a lot of landscape. Those lawns, I assume?
Hydros, yeah, so.
Based on the picture, it looks like not grass. Is there enough?
Right, it's labeled as hydro zone, so yeah, probably not a sod, but.
Artificial something. Artificial.
Okay. And as we talked about, there's also construction going on the left side of the property, is that correct as well?
That's what it is.
And we haven't seen we haven't seen that proposal, so we don't know what that looks like.
You have, or
It was previously passed.
correct, I think it was
Okay.
about 2 years. ago.
Okay, gotcha.
2 years ago.
Okay. Okay, so I think, I guess my thought would be in taking consideration of the neighborhood and their comments, I think to ensure that we have adequate screening, between the homes, pretty tight on the lot, if you will. And obviously very close to the neighbors, in that regard, so I think adequate screening, on the sides of the house so that the neighbors maintain privacy. I think it's important that we incorporate that into the staff report. I think the same is true as we look at, kind of the water retention issue. I think the city engineer really needs to get comfortable that we're gonna resolve any sort of water that's runoff in there, because I know I've walked through that muddy little places I go on a hike and it can get. And it would be even better if we have the sidewalk that I can walk on and not have to walk through the mud. And so I think those are things that I would like to think we could incorporate into the approval. That would address the water, it would provide the screening, and then the access for pedestrians. Would recommended that the engineer evaluate those things and incorporate that as necessary.
So one item I would ask for perhaps a little more clarification in your motion is on the landscape plan. On the right-hand side.
Mhm.
It's a little hard to see it at this scale, but on the right-hand side, those are all noted as existing privet trees, so those are not new.
The left side,
Now I want to see the Google map actually.
And towards the back on the left.
those are already there.
So,
Very tiny.
correct, this symbol is a new tree. It's this symbol in the
Yeah.
front. And then these ones are in the middle.
Gotcha. Well, I guess my sense is that we've got we need to have screening between the lots, a big lot, but it's thin and close to the neighbors, so I think we need to have screening. Certainly on the sides of that allow for some privacy, particularly where the house is a 2-story. In that case, I think we need to make sure that there's adequate screening for that.
So one option that the commission could have is, since I would imagine this would be a fairly significant change to the proposed landscaping.
Mhm.
You can certainly condition any requirements tonight if you would like to approve the project. Another option would be you could approve the project with a condition that a revised landscape plan come back to the commission for approval before the building permit is issued for the new house.
I'm open, it seems like it's the same thing either way.
Well, you can condition something specific tonight
Mhm.
that you want to see for the screening trees.
Right, no, I'd rather see
If you
proposal,
would like to see an actual proposal,
right,
if the commission chooses, you can approve the house
yeah,
with the condition that a landscape plan be brought back to the commission
okay,
for separate review before the building permit is issued.
Right, and at that stage, the neighbors would also have the comment.
The neighbors would be notified again of that
Okay.
future hearing.
I'm sorry.
You actually, yeah.
Can I present one picture to you?
Mm,
Fortunately,
No, not at this
I
stage.
think we
But
saw
that's
it,
okay.
the Google map picture gives us a good idea.
But it sounds like you're gonna get another opportunity when this comes back with.
Oh,
It will come back.
Appreciate that. So with that, I would entertain a motion, I think, is what I would do at this stage, that we approve the plan with the condition that we have it come back with a landscape plan that provides adequate screening. And that we would, at least at this stage, recommend to the city engineer that we resolve any water runoff from the property, and that they also consider whether it would be appropriate to have sidewalk there. Is that a motion that you would put forward?
I would suggest slight rewording here.
Okay.
So the revised landscape plan should also consider, the drainage situation. So we need to add few more trees for more water retention.
Mhm.
That could come back also as a part of the landscape.
Okay.
So screening as well as making sure there are enough trees, and our city engineer has approved the landscape plan from the drainage perspective.
Okay.
So the motion was by Commissioner Rivestala.
I second that, yes. And then we voted, the two of us vote,
And then the two of you can vote,
yes,
all in favor?
all in
Yeah.
favor. Or, yeah. Okay, is that it? That close?
Thank you.
We move to adjourn, second, closed. 8:16.